Mycotoxins and mental health. What do allergies, chronic sinusitis, chronic fatigue, migraine headaches, insomnia, anxiety, depression, OCD, disordered eating all have in common? Mycotoxin illness. Hi, I'm Krista Kill. I own Soma Sunder Wellness. I'm an integrative health practitioner, and I'm here to talk to you today about the connection between mycotoxins and your mental health, sharing an article I wrote for Microbalance Health Products on Sinusitis Wellness blog. The healing process from mold illness provokes a unique challenge to mental health in a multifaceted way. Individuals healing from mold illness are not only faced with the mental health implications that come with the state of chronic illness, but also they navigate potential mycotoxin-induced mental health diagnoses such as anxiety, depression, OCD, and more. Therefore, there can be both physiological and situational mental health symptoms provoked by mold and fungal illness. In understanding the physiological impact on mental health that mycotoxins can have, the correlation between the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, HPA axis, and inhaled mycotoxins is a very important starting point. There's a thin wall between the sinus cavities and the pineal and pituitary glands. In cases of mycotoxin illness, fungal colonies in the sinuses are extremely common. These fungal colonies release a steady emission of mycotoxins, which are microscopic mold spores. Those vaporize past that thin barrier between the sinuses and the brain and begin to wreak havoc on the HPA axis. An additional pathway of mycotoxin stress on the brain is through intestinal permeability, which often leads to a compromised blood-brain barrier and the mycotoxins traveling past the protective blood-brain barrier and into the tissue of the brain. The HPA axis is a vital hormone signaling system and regulates the release of cortisol from the adrenal glands in response to a stress signal. When the term stress is used, it's commonly thought of within the context of managing one's emotional state. While this is true in the context of physiological stress, stress can indicate any input structurally, biochemically, emotionally, or energetically that creates a state of imbalance in the body. Mold is a known stressor to the body, specifically the immune system. When this stress is put on the immune system, the body begins to involve the central nervous system and the neuroendocrine system by means of the immune system's release of interleukin 1b. The release of this pro-inflammatory cytokine elevates the release of norepinephrine. In response to the elevated norepinephrine, melatonin and cortisol come on the scene in an attempt to rebalance the effect of this interleukin. If the stressor isn't removed, this symphony of cytokine and hormone signaling will turn into a vicious cycle, driving up chronic inflammation and presenting symptomatically in a variety of ways. The stress hormones that are released belong to a category of neurotransmitters called catecholamines. These neurotransmitters respond to stress signals by provoking a sympathetic nervous system response, which is also known as fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses. In addition to these catecholamines flooding the body, the feel-good neurotransmitters of the body, such as dopamine and serotonin, are often depleted. When this state becomes dominant, and for some chronic, mental health symptoms may arise, such as anxiety, panic, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and even addictive tendencies or disordered eating behaviors. In my own experience of healing from mold illness, many aspects of my mental health were impacted. At my lowest points of my healing journey, I battled panic attacks, depression, binge eating disorder, and a general apathy towards living. This perpetuated until I healed my internal and external environments from mold. One day, I visited my provider for a follow-up, and when asked, I realized I hadn't thought about being depressed in a few months after moving into my new mold-free home. This was the first time in years I had felt depressed. Now, in the past few years of running my practice, I've seen how closely mycotoxins and mental health are related as well. For some individuals, mold illness will masquerade as persistent mental health issues. When all of the therapy has been tried, antidepressants wear off, and dietary changes aren't quite cutting it, I've seen clients come through my doors with these mental health conditions all tied back to mold and fungal illness. Recently, I had a client come to me having experienced years of depression, fatigue, lack of focus, and a low-level state of anxiety she had adapted to over the past several years. This client's initial intake and testing revealed imbalances in the HPA axis due to inhaled mycotoxins, which colonized in her nasal passages. After screening her home with EC3 plates by Microbalance Health Products and using them to guide a mold inspector to the right direction for remediation, A localized mold problem was detected and treated. After the problem in her own home was properly cared for and the client followed through with her recommendations, which included a Citradrops nasal rinse bundle and Celtropin, amongst other custom remedies to support her body, the client's energy drastically increased, her mood and mental health stabilized, and her focus improved. So if you're dealing with symptoms of mold and fungal illness, getting a personalized approach for detoxification and healing through one-on-one support with a provider that is knowledgeable in mold and fungal illness is essential for best outcomes. Here are some tools for situational mental health stress. One common fear that arises amongst the healing process from mold and fungal illness is re-exposure. For cases that have required complete mold avoidance during healing, myself being one of those cases, a simple night out to dinner, an airplane ride, hotel stays, or a long car ride may be enough to set symptoms back for several days or weeks. This may create a feeling of anxiety, low mood, pessimistic thinking, or in some cases, even agoraphobia. Building confidence in your ability to overcome a re-exposure has been helpful in avoiding situational anxiety for both myself and my clients during periods of desensitization after strict mold avoidance and detoxification has been implemented. Through much trial and error, I found several things to be helpful. Here are a few of them. Number one is nasal irrigation. I suggest using Microbalance Health's Citradrops nasal rinse bundle. Doing a nasal spray before a potential exposure, immediately rinsing the sinuses, followed by another spray after that potential exposure helps tremendously in quickly clearing out any potential inhaled mycotoxins. Bonus if you add a sprinkle of a binding agent into the saline rinse, such as mycotoxin or bioactive binder. These are both great options. Oral binding agents, this is number two. I suggest taking binders around a potential or known exposure. This can act like the catcher's mitt for the mycotoxins. My clients have done really well with taking these before and after a potential or known mold exposure. Number three is consider bringing a personal air purifier or an air purification lanyard that you wear around your neck. This can help mitigate the toxins in the air in your immediate surrounding area. And while it doesn't completely block out mycotoxins, it can certainly help improve the quality of the inhaled air around you. Number four, practice brain retraining. A significant piece of healing from any chronic condition is neuroplasticity work. If the brain has been signaling the body to react in one way to inhaled mycotoxins for several months or years, it is more than likely in the habit of doing so. Retraining the brain to choose a different signaling response can be extremely helpful in creating a new neural pathway for change. Potential or known mold exposures are a great opportunity to do some brain retraining. Consider resources like Annie Hopper's DNRS, parts and memory therapy, emotional freedom technique, and brain tap technologies. If you're not sure where to start with brain retraining, take a look at the membership that I've created to help empower you with the tools to create new neural pathways while healing from chronic illness. That link is included in the description. Retraining the neuroendocrine system is number five. Similar to brain retraining, focusing on gentle desensitization through resources such as homeopathy can be helpful in creating tolerance for everyday exposures. Celtropin by Microbalance Health Products is a great remedy for this, as it's designed to desensitize the pituitary gland to the effects of mycotoxins through homeopathy. Consider dosing Celtropin out around potential exposures. Healing from mold illness is a journey. For some, it's a longer process than others, and it can weigh on one's mental health, both physiologically and situationally. It's vital to remember that you're not alone in your journey and things will get better. While your body has its own healing timeline, empowering yourself with resources for protection and healing, as well as adopting a positivity bias and creating new neural pathways, can be exponentially helpful in creating best outcomes while you're healing. If you enjoyed this video, please check out the live video I did with Microbalance Health Products on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube in the comments below, and check out the written article I wrote on Sinusitis Wellness blog. It was great to talk to you today, and happy healing!